Well, hello, AP Statistics friends. My name is Bob Loschel. I'm a high school math teacher outside of Philadelphia, and today I'm going to share with you a lesson that deals with the topic that for students and teachers alike maybe causes the most confusion and nervousness in the AP Stats curriculum, and that is the idea of power. And every year on the message boards, it's very natural to see even veteran teachers looking for ways to engage their students in the idea of power. And I've tried different things over the years, and some successful, some a little less so. And I sought to do something that not only got the idea of power out there, but helped students experience the idea of power. Because if nothing else, this quote really resonated with me. And it's the idea that we want students to be able to explain what's going on. And whenever we put students in a position where they can explain the mechanisms that are at work, then we're going to be more successful in having students understand the information. And I hope to do that with power. And it all deals with this applet for virtual coins. This is a Desmos graph here. I'm actually going to put it on my screen here. Desmos graph here, and this will be linked to at the end of the presentation so you can get it. And if you're not a Desmos expert, that's okay. My students have mixed levels of success with Desmos. But what we have here is, first of all, we have 3 coins here on the left-hand side. Students can toggle between the 3 virtual coins, coin A, coin B, coin C. And they can also change the number of coins being flipped. It defaults to 10. But we can move this up to maybe 25 coins or even 100 coins. And if you don't use Desmos that often, we can re-randomize with this little guy here too. So this Desmos graph allows students to interact with virtual coins. And we'll be using this to help discover the idea of power today. So again, that'll be linked to at the end of the presentation. And what we want to be able to do is we would like to try to gather evidence as to the fairness of these coins. So our null hypothesis is that the coin might be fair, but the alternate hypothesis here is that the coin is unfair, in that do the coins have something other than a 50-50 chance of landing on heads or tails. So how are students going to interact with this? Well, in my classroom, we use OneNote for our note taking. It's all digital, which makes it easier for me as a teacher to look at student results. So let's see what students here did with coin A. So a student had a sample size of 10, and then the students went to their calculators and did a one prop z-test, a one proportion test to try to determine if the coin is not fair. Here we had a p-value of 0.2059, so the student correctly concluded that we cannot conclude that the coin is not fair. It's a mouthful, but that's the correct conclusion here. But they also repeated this procedure for sample sizes of 25 and 100. So for each of these 3, they ran a test, came up with a p-value, and highlighted the correct conclusion. And in all 3 cases here, the student failed to reject the null hypothesis in favor of the alternate. And then I asked my students to collaborate and talk to each other, and not only look at their conclusions, but to say which of the sample sizes, which of the evidence was the strongest in helping them make their decision. So there are a couple takeaways here after we talked as a class. First of all, no students concluded that die A was unfair except for one stubborn holdout. And isn't it great when you have those stubborn holdouts who really want to stick to their guns? And students generally agreed that the results when we use a sample size of 100 or flip 100 coins should carry more weight than just flipping 10 coins. That's going to be a key takeaway for later. And just a little spoiler alert here. We're going to find out down the road that coin A really is not fair. And I'll give you that information in a minute. So let's look at coin B. What's happening with coin B? Different student. Sometimes we have to deal with goofy handwriting. But in this case, for sample sizes of 10 and 25, the student failed to reject the null hypothesis. But for the sample size of 100, they did get a very low p-value. And in that case, they concluded the coin was not fair. So mixed results here. As a group, about half the class concluded that coin B was unfair. How about coin C? Coin C, different student here. Sample sizes of 10, 25, and 100. For 25 and 100, clear evidence that the coin is not fair. And in this case, just about all the students concluded that coin C was unfair. So what's going on here? So this only works if we give students a reveal and we tell students about the coins. Well, here's the truth. Coin A is programmed to land on heads 48% of the time. B, 40% of the time. C, 25% of the time. So all 3 coins are unfair. But the magnitude of their unfairness is different. And then we have the students collect as groups and talk about what factors made it easier or more likely that you would correctly identify an unfair coin. And the students were fantastic. Key takeaways. Again, things students said without me having to prompt them too much. Larger sample sizes provide more robust evidence. We should have more trust in bigger sample sizes and use that information to help guide our decision making. And that idea that magnitude matters, the difference between the null and the truth matters in making decisions. If that distance is small, it's going to be very hard to detect differences. If the difference between the null and the truth is big, it's more likely we're going to detect differences. And it all leads to the idea that power is a probability. And there's some factors that can influence that probability that we can control, like sample sizes, and others we cannot. So it was really great. And it was fantastic to get feedback this year from other teachers like Nick. If you see Nick around, he has great ideas on statistics. And it was great to get feedback and people even using the ideas further. So you can find all of this on my blog, mathcoachblog.com. You can find the worksheet. You can find the Desmos link. And feel free to leave me any comments there. And I hope that you go off and be powerful with your students.